Hey guys! We all know that Star Wars is one of the most influential movies ever made, and today, we're going to look at one of the effects that it's had on the world. Spaceballs. No. Sadly, we are not talking about that Spaceballs. We are talking about... Spaceballs, the animated series. I swear, this show exists for no other reason than to ruin the reputation of the movie from whence it came. Mel Brooks' original Spaceballs is not only a well-crafted parody of Star Wars, but also the science fiction genre as a whole, poking fun at Planet of the Apes, Star Trek, Alien, even Transformers. Spaceballs, the animated series, on the other hand, is about as well-crafted as the schlock that Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer churn out. I need to talk about the story of Spaceballs at this point, and if you haven't seen that movie, I suggest you pause this review and check it out. As for the rest of you, let's talk about how this animated series continues where the movie left off. Namely, it doesn't. The movie ends with our brave hero Lone Star discovering that he's a prince, which means that he can marry his lady love, Princess Vespa. Meanwhile, Dark Helmet's evil plan to steal the air from the planet Gerudia has failed, which leads us to believe that his home planet, Planet Spaceball, probably died off not long thereafter. So how does this series begin? Planet Spaceball is perfectly fine, with no mention of whether or not Dark Helmet was able to steal the air from some other planet somehow, and Lone Star and Vespa are back in their original roles of rescuer and helpless damsel. But of course they couldn't continue where the story left off. That would actually force them to actually make a story with this animated series. And if they did that, how could they parody whatever they wanted to regardless of how much sense it makes? You remember the other properties I talked about that were spoofed in Spaceballs the movie? Those worked because they were little deviations, but didn't take away from the fact that this is still a Star Wars story that we're looking at. As for the show, the first episode is a spoof of The Phantom Menace, where we learn of the origins of Dark Helmet. We'll talk more about that episode in a bit. But the rest of the show is just plopping these characters into other parodies that have nothing to do with Star Wars. Seriously, every episode is handled as a completely separate parody. They do Tron, Lord of the Rings, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, Armageddon, Pirates of the Caribbean, James Bond, The Terminator, Titanic, Spider-Man, even American Idol. It would be easy enough to just make a parody show based on the Clone Wars that just came out at the time. Why did they have to make this a series of terrible fan films? But let's actually talk about some of these episodes in greater detail, starting with the only episode that actually remembers it's supposed to be a Star Wars parody. Episode 1, Revenge of the Scifi. You get it? It's funny because it sounds like sissy. Dark Helmet has a flashback as a result of a concussion brought on by the overinflated boobs of a robotic stripper, where we see him living as a slave working in bra retail. And yes, this show is full of uncomfortable boob jokes. 13 in this episode alone. Yogurt, voiced by Spaceballs creator Mel Brooks himself, comes in to buy a bra for his wife when he notices that young Panikin Crybaby here can use the Schwartz. Yogurt wants to buy Panikin so he can refine his Schwartz powers, but when the evil Sith Lord Outlet Maul threatens to buy him first, they have a NAS pod race to determine who gets to buy him. Wow, they took the pod racing scene from episode 1 and made it a joke about NASCAR! How inventive!
Look, they're making a left turn! Oh, they're making another left turn! Oh, they're making another left turn! I wonder what's going to happen next!
Of course, Panikin wins the race, and Yogurt takes him to his Academy of Schwartz Mastery and Dirty Dancing. Because when you think of material for Star Wars parody, you think of Dirty Dancing. How bankrupt for ideas do you have to be when you have to rip off that terrible Dirty Dancing CD-ROM game that no one would have known about if Spoonie hadn't reviewed it?
This just blows my mind. For a game called Dirty Dancing, the only two things you need are dancing and interesting music, and they boned it on both counts. Where is the dancing? Where are the dancers? The screen is blank. What, did they just forget to add graphics or something?
Panikin then meets this Queen Amidala stand-in, who looks like Princess Vespa, despite not being related to her in any way that we know of, and Panikin uses his Schwartz mind control powers to get her in the sack. Well, actually, now that I think about it, wouldn't that make for a better backstory for how Anakin Skywalker fell to the dark side? I love you. I think we should just be friends. You think we should be friends with benefits. I think we should be friends with benefits. Ooh, I'm gonna like this new power. On the topic of character designs, why did they design Dark Helmet to be this small? Yes, Rick Moranis was appropriately tiny compared to the massive stature of Darth Vader's actor David Prowse, but here he looks like a bobble-headed Vern Troyer. And because he's this small, I have no idea how old he's supposed to be in this flashback sequence. You want to make sure that your audience comes back to see the next episode? Why not open up with a love scene involving what looks like a little boy? Speaking of the animation, all of these characters almost never change their expressions. So much of Mel Brooks' comedy is derived from watching other people's pain, but what are we supposed to laugh at when they always look so damn pleasant? Anyway, back to the story. Panakin wants to marry not Padme, but she can't marry him until he becomes a Schwartz Master. He figures he can become a Master more quickly by defeating Outlet Maul, and in the ensuing battle, he gets a bump on his head that makes not Padme reject him. I guess it doesn't do it for her.
No, he doesn't do it for me.
Young President Scroob takes Panakin under his wing and outfits him with a helmet to hide his deformity, and a new identity to boot.
From now on, you shall be known as Dark Helmet.
Thank you, Master. I will never take this helmet off. Never.
True, the helmet never does come off after this point, but he has his mask pulled up over his head almost the entire time. How are we supposed to laugh at this tiny little guy if we don't have the big, powerful menace of Dark Helmet to make it all the more absurd? And that's the first and last time this series tries to resemble Star Wars. No time for that. We need to see them take an evil onion ring into a giant deadly deep fryer in Mordor, stop the Spaceballs from killing Lone Star's grandparents by turning themselves into Terminators, and Barf dress up like Captain Jack Sparrow because... I have no idea. Was this show just throwing random pop culture references at the script and seeing which one of them would stick? Well, I take that back. That can't be what happened, because none of them stick. And these out-of-place storylines aren't the only bit of confusing randomness. There's so much more. Remember the twins that were always following President Scroob around?
Hello, Charlene.
I'm Marlene.
Hello, Marlene.
I'm Charlene.
Chew your gum.
This show decided there should be a third twin named Darlene. Point? Purpose? Who cares? One more set of boobs to bounce around. Seriously, they could even make her a Clone Troopers joke or something. Oh, and you remember this scene from the movie?
How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow?
Yo!
I knew it. I'm surrounded by assholes.
Keep firing, assholes!
Of course, they can't see that word on television, so anytime that the movie was shown on TV, that usually ended up looking like this.
Keep firing!
And they have to use that joke again in this series, so what do they call him?
Major Bleep Hole.
Yes, sir.
Now, I have no idea when this show's time slot was, but if it was shown during primetime, it would make sense that they couldn't actually say the name Major Asshole. So then why is it okay for them to say this?
By the 7 arms of Vishnu. That's Indian for holy shit.
If you can say that, why can't you say Major Asshole? Speaking of inconsistencies, the name of the planet from which the Spaceballs come was just that. Spaceball. What's the name of the planet in the TV show? Planet Moron. Why? The currency of choice in the movie is Spacebucks, but in the TV show, they're Starbucks. Also why? In their Harry Potter spoof, Princess Vespa has to play Hermione, of course, and for some reason she's the only one who knows how to use magic. Did Lone Star just forget that he's been using the Schwartz all this time? I'm pretty sure he knows more magic than you do, Princess. At one point, President Scroob complains about how much money he's losing as a result of being involved in too many pointless wars. Then in a later episode, he complains about how they need to invade some random planet because peacetime is too expensive.
A quick question. With the Schwartz side, why are we sometimes able to fly, but other times we fall, or hang by our fingertips? It seems really inconsistent.
Even the characters are pointing out how nothing in this show makes any sense. And that's not all. Since it's obvious that this show has absolutely no ideas at its disposal, it even rips off the Spaceballs movie as well.
What's going on? What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the show?
Now, you're looking at now, Lone Star. Everything that happens now is happening now.
It is! Now? What happened to then?
We just passed that. When? Just now. We're at now.
Then we should go back to then?
When?
Now.
Now?
Not now, then. Go back to then.
We can't. Why? We missed it.
When?
Just now.
Blow Eagle 5 out of the sky!
Yes, Lord Helmet!
How did you miss them?
Sorry, Lord Helmet.
What's your name?
Ensign Floyd Bleephole, sir.
I thought we fired you a long time ago in another galaxy.
No, sir. That was my cross-eyed cousin, Ensign Lloyd Bleephole.
Get the bleep out of here! Ugh, I'm surrounded by bleep holes.
But you want to know what the worst part of all this is? The absolute worst part of this? Mel Brooks wrote every episode. Yes, there were other writers on this show, but Brooks himself was there writing every episode. What happened here? How could a comic genius like Mel Brooks have this much creative control over a project and have it come out this bad? If you want my recommendation, I say you stick with the original movie and steer clear of this animated series at all costs. Hang on. Hello?
Hey Bob, it's Dave. Listen, I know who has the box. Come to my house, quick.
I'll see you guys later. Dave? Dave, are you home?
Subscribe, like, follow, comment, share, watch more, more.